Ladies and gentlemen, hello. For FishUSA, I'm Steve Wascher. With the advent of fall knocking on our door, it's time to prepare our steelhead fly boxes for the upcoming steelhead run here on the Great Lakes tributaries. One of my favorite flies to tie and to utilize on the stream is what we refer to as a Bunny Spey. It's a very unique pattern, can be tied in a variety of different colors. It's relatively simple to tie and it's extremely effective. First of all, I'm going to be utilizing a Daiichi salmon fly hook, blackened eye up. I'm going to also be utilizing a Mallard flank feather, a rather large one. I have two different body materials. For the rear section, I'm using Spirit River Light Bright in a polar pearl, and then for the fore section, I'm going to be using the UV2 seal dubbing in purple. I'll be utilizing a purple schlappen hackle, rather large in size, and I'll also be using some Spirit River bunny strips in a grizzly color. So for today's demonstration, I'm going to be using a red thread, which I would probably use anyway, but I'm using red just so it'll show up maybe a little bit better on camera for you folks to see. So I'm going to start right behind the return loop of the eye of the hook, and I'm going to put down a thread base. And in tight open spirals, I'm going to wrap that back to the tip, approximately the tip of the hook point. Cut off my excess tag end thread. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take my Light Bright Polar Dub, take out a little bit of that, and I'm just going to use a twisted method of dubbing. And wrap it on the thread, kind of heavy if you like. Shorten my working distance. I'm just going to wrap that around. I'm taking it up to about the halfway point of the shank. Pull some of that material back. Errant fibers there. Put a half hitch in. Now when I'm all done, I'm going to want to go in, I'm going to want to comb this material out. You can do that a number of different ways. You can use a toothbrush, a dubbing pick. I'm just using the points of my scissors now, but when I'm finished I'll comb it out a lot more. So the next step, we want to take about a 5-inch piece of copper or gold or silver wire, and we want to secure that first, right at our tie-off point of the polar dub. And I bring it behind the thread, and I secure it with several wraps, loose wrap it up to the return loop eye, and then I fold my tag end back. That's so that it doesn't pull out, because the wire is slippery. And to trim that wire off, I'm going to use a pair of fingernail clippers so we don't compromise our scissors and dull them. So now that our wire's in, I'm going to tie in, a schlappen feather. But first I'm going to take and I'm going to pull very slowly. I'm going to pull the fibers downward in a downward fashion. And I'm going to also, just for ease in tying, I'm going to pull off the flymph at the base of the hackle stem. There we go. Now my tie-in point will be right here, right where I've pulled my fibers back. So I place the feather right in front of my thread at the tie-in point, and I want the shiny side or the upside of the hackle facing forward. So I make about 3 turns of thread to secure that. Then I pull the tag end back once again, much like I did the wire. I make several wraps to secure that. The hackle is very tightly in place. I trim off my excess, and I'm ready for the body material. Once again, we're using the UV2 seal dub in purple. It's a very unique material. It's an artificial, synthetic. It mimics the natural seal. Does a great job. There again, I'm just going to use a twisted dubbing method. I want my body rather thick. So I like to use this fly under some high water conditions, when the water's a little off color and it moves a lot of water, and it's easier for the fish to focus in on it. So now I'm just going to start wrapping this material forward. Now and then I'm going to pull some of the excess back. Some errant fibers there. I need just a little bit more to finish this off. So another little pinch. And I'm taking it just slightly up over the return loop of that eye. I'm going to pull the material back. I'm going to make a wrap or two. I'm going to give it 1/2 hitch. Now if you'll notice this body material, it's rather wavy, it sticks out, it protrudes, and that's fine because we're going to pick that out a little bit too. Now we're ready to wrap our hackle. And in doing so, we're going to incorporate a method called folding. And what I want to do is I want to force the hackle, the hackle fibers down to the other side. Now I can do this one of two ways. With each wrap, I can pull the fibers back and make a wrap. And that works very well. Or a system that I like to utilize is, and it takes a little bit of practice, is I take my anvil scissors and on top of, I run them right down and it'll fold those fibers down very neatly. You can kind of see how on this side of the stem they're all folded back. So we're ready to proceed. We're going to wrap this in open spirals forward. I have these rotating hackle pliers, which really helps in the situation. It's probably going to be close to about 6 turns of hackle. Stroke those hackles back. Now, right to when I get to my tie-off point, I make several turns of hackle right in place, one in front of the other, about 3 turns. There again to make this extremely full. And one last turn. Now I come in with my thread and I make several wraps behind and I make several wraps in front of the hackle stem. Come in and I kick, notice if you will, I kick my bobbin out of the way with my fingers and I go in and I snip off my hackle stem very close to the shank. I kick that bobbin out of there so that I don't cut my thread, and it happens occasionally even when you don't. The next step, we're ready to tie in our mallard flank feather. What I like to do is strip off the flymph, or the base of the fuzzy material, it's the base of the hackle stem, and what I'm going to do today is I am going to strip off the left side, is the feathers facing me. I'm going to strip off the hackle plumes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull all those fibers down, much like I did with the schleppen. This will be our tie-in point right here. We got the tip of the feather right here. Now, there again, shiny side forward. My tie-in point is right where I tied off my schleppen. I make several wraps in front of, and then I pull that tag end, or the tip of the hackle, back. Make 2 or 3 wraps over. And I cut off that tip of that hackle. I secure the stem of the hackle with my rotating hackle pliers. And I wrap it forward. Now, I'm using a natural mallard. You could use a teal. You could use dyed mallard or dyed teal, like a dyed purple mallard or teal. It goes very nicely with this. You can contrast your colors. Even a guinea fowl or guinea hen would be a nice substitute as well. Either a natural or a dyed. But there are options. So I've made about 4 or 5 wraps around. And right now my stem is very thick at the base, and I want to make sure that I tie that down tightly. Make sure you put some pressure on your stem to secure it. Come behind it, make about 3 wraps. Come in front of it, make a couple wraps. There again, kick your bobbin out with your fingers. Come in and right next to the hook, cut off your stem. What I want to do now is just kind of fluff those feathers out. And now we're ready for the overwing. What I'm going to be utilizing today is a 1/4 inch wide Spirit River bunny strip. Today we're using a grizzly colored, which is kind of a combination of white and grays and some browns. And I take about 1.5 inch section of the bunny strip. Cut that off. And what I'm going to do is, at the top part of the bunny strip, I'm just going to cut a little V for my tie-in. That'll be my tie-in point. Now, I don't want this too short and I don't want it too long. A good rule of thumb when it's in place is that the end of your strip right here, the hide is actually where my pinky is roughly above the point of the hook. Or excuse me, the point of the barb, not the point of the hook. All right? Otherwise, if it's too long, it's going to wrap around the shank. Okay? If it's too short, it's not going to have enough action. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move my bunny strip forward, and I'm going to capture just about 1/8 of the hide. Make about 2 or 3 wraps in place. Work my thread forward. Fashion a nice, neat little head. Now, I don't want a great big head. It's very intrusive. Now, if you like, you can tie in several strands of polar flash, flashabou, crystal flash. I'm going to take 2 strands of a bluish colored polar flash, and I'm going to take and lay it parallel to the hook shank with 2 strands, make a wrap or 2 over it. Then I'm going to take the other 2 strands, move them up and over the hook, and tie them in so they are parallel as well. Come back. I have all 4 strands between my thumb and forefinger, and I'm going to make them just a little longer than a bunny strip itself, and I cut those off. It just adds a little bit of flash to the fly, a little more visibility. Now I'm going to tie off my thread using my whip finish tool. I'll make about 5 wraps, and I always double whip finish. I always pull it tight to make sure it's secure. And then I'm going to hit that with several coats of a really good head cement, and we're ready to go fishing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the one thing you want to keep in mind is you can tie this in a myriad of colors. All white is very good. White with a black or a purple wing is very good. Olives are great. Purples are great. All black, or therefore use your imagination. In some cases, I've utilized colors that would mimic forage base. There are endless possibilities. It's a great fly. It's extremely durable. It's easy to cast, and it really catches fish. Another option you have is you could weight this with a lead wire. So, for FishUSA and Spirit River, I'm Steve Wascher. Have a great season. Take care.